Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you an exercise on how to attain a new state of consciousness for yourself without thinking about what people say or what the world thinks of you. So doing it in a completely detached way and don't think much on the opinions of others. So first I'm going to talk about how important it is to completely deny the opinions of others and denying what circumstances may show. So if the whole world should agree that a certain thing could not be expressed, and yet you become aware of being that which they had agreed could not be expressed, you would express it. So your awareness never asks for permission to express that which you are aware of being. It does so naturally and without effort, in spite of the wisdom of man and all opposition. So salute no man, by the way. So as we know, we human beings are far more controlled by our inner awareness than by the outer world. But most people live completely backwards. Most people believe that outer world creates their identity, their limits, their future, their possibilities, and their reality. But the outer world is not the cause, it is the effect. The real cause is consciousness itself. What you deeply accept as true about yourself eventually becomes expressed outwardly, whether the world agrees with it or not. So most people are hypnotized by appearances. They look at facts, circumstances, then they use all of those things to decide who they are allowed to be. And this is the great mistake of humanity. People wait for evidence before they allow themselves to feel what they want first. When Neville says that even if the whole world agreed something could not be expressed, you would still express it if you became aware of being it. And that's how powerful consciousness really is. The world may call something impossible because the world judges by appearances, but Neville says none of those opinions matter if your awareness changes. Why is this? Because consciousness is creative. The world only reflects states of consciousness. So the moment you inwardly become aware of being the person you want to be, you have planted a new cause. And once the cause is planted deeply enough, expression follows naturally. This is why Neville constantly focuses on being instead of getting. So most people try to get things while continuing to feel like the version of themselves who does not have them. They want wealth while feeling poor, or they want love while feeling rejected, or they may want freedom while remaining identified with limitation. So the outer world cannot fully change while you remain inwardly loyal to the old identity. Reality mirrors consciousness. So if you continue to feel like the old person, you continue reproducing the old life. This is why awareness does not ask permission to express itself. Your consciousness is always expressing automatically, whether you realize it or not. Your dominant assumptions are constantly externalizing themselves into your behavior, reactions, emotions, and everything. So manifestation is not some exhausting struggle where you fight reality into submission. But consciousness expresses itself naturally and effortlessly. The effort most people use comes from trying to force external change without changing internally. They try to manipulate appearances while remaining inwardly unchanged. And the true work is inward, so the true work is changing the feeling of self. This is why Neville speaks so much about naturalness. The secret is reaching the point where your desired state feels normal, when something feels natural to you and consciousness expresses it easily. And when something feels unnatural or impossible, you remain psychologically separated from it, and that separation delays expression. For example, many people can easily imagine receiving a small amount of money because it feels believable and natural to them. But imagining something massive wealth may feel impossible because internally they still identify as limited. The issue is not that wealth is harder for consciousness. The issue is that the person emotionally experiences it as unnatural. And Neville constantly says that there are no big or small manifestations to God. But us, human beings, create degrees of difficulty in our own minds by judging appearances. This is also what he means by the wisdom of man. Human wisdom is based on appearances, logic, statistics, and present conditions. So we ourselves judge whether something is possible or impossible, whether it is realistic or unrealistic, so nothing is impossible in itself. And imagination is not limited by current appearances because imagination is the source from which appearances come. And the visible world is not fixed reality, it is the delayed results of prior states of consciousness. So while human logic sees only present circumstances, imagination sees possibilities beyond present facts. But when we talk about this, we don't mean always fantasy. I'm not saying to deny the existence of the outer world emotionally or completely, but not to worship it as final. And salute no man by the way. So do not mentally place any person, condition, or circumstance above your own awareness. Do not believe another human being has ultimate authority over what you can become. And Neville says the moment you believe external conditions are greater than consciousness, you surrender your creative power. So be kind to people, respect others, but never inwardly accept limitation as final truth. And do not recognize anything as greater than the creative power within consciousness itself. The outer world can seem enormous and immovable, but it is still secondary to imagination. The problem is that people become hypnotized by visible reality. They become convinced that appearances are the absolute truth. And this is why you have to imagine and feel yourselves already being what you desire. You should move the desired state from impossible fantasy into natural identity, and once something feels like part of who you are, your entire consciousness begins expressing it automatically. So your awareness is not asking the world for permission every day before expressing itself. It is already expressing what you believe yourself to be. So the real question is not what does the world say, but the real question is what are you conscious of being? Because that inner awareness eventually becomes the life that you experience outwardly. And this is not a command to be insolent or unfriendly, but a reminder not to recognize a superior, not to see in anyone a barrier to your expression. None can stay your hand or question your ability to express that which you are conscious of being. So do not judge after the appearances of a thing, for all are as nothing in the eyes of God. When the disciples through their judgment of appearances saw the insane child, they thought it a more difficult problem to solve than others they had seen, and so they failed to achieve a cure. In judging after appearances, they forgot that all things were possible to God, and hypnotized as they were by the reality of appearances, they could not feel the naturalness of sanity. So before going into the exercise, I will stop here a bit. So do not recognize a superior. Do not mentally place anyone or anything above your own imagination and awareness. The moment you accept appearances as final truth, you become hypnotized by them. And that's why he says, do not judge after appearances, because appearances are always changing. And he gives the example of the disciples that they failed to heal the insane child because they looked at the condition and decided it was harder than other problems. And they became emotionally impressed by the appearances, and instead of believing in the possibility of healing, they believed more in the reality of the problem. They focused more on the problem, and that's why they couldn't achieve what they wanted successfully. And now, at the end of this video, I will give you an exercise for daily practice and successfully changing your state. Here is a simple practical exercise. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to do something very simple. So take one problem in your life, whatever it is, just one. Maybe it's money, maybe it's love, health, or whatever. And now notice how you usually look at it. Most likely you keep looking at the appearances like the current circumstances, the lack, or the delay, or the problem itself. And because you keep staring at the appearance, the problem feels more natural to you than the solution. So tonight you have to change it. Change it and stop focusing on the appearance for a moment. So close your eyes and ask yourself, if this problem were already solved, how would I naturally feel? Not how would you force yourself to feel. Not to fake excitement, but just what would feel normal. And do not try hard to force it. Just stay back, stay calm, and allow it to come. And see how would you feel. Would you feel free or secure or loved or confident? Choose the one that you like more, that would feel more real to you. And after that, now spend a few minutes feeling that state as naturally as possible. Just practice making the solution feel more natural than the problem. Because that's why the disciples failed, because the problem felt more real than the solution. So your exercise is this. Every night, stop rehearsing the problem and start rehearsing the feeling of the solution until it begins to feel natural. And that is how you stop being hypnotized by appearances, and that is how you change. Okay guys, that's all for this video. I hope you like it and see you in the next one.